guys, welcome back to my channel. Marina here, and as always I'm very excited to have you join me on another video. If it's your first time here, you are welcome. My name is Marina and this is my husband Fred. We both live in Saskatoon in Canada, where we share about life issues and our experiences as Nigerians living in Canada. We also share information to help professionals and other newcomers settle into life in Canada. So if this is information that you're interested in, please do well to hit the subscribe button and join our family. OGs, returning subscribers, welcome back. Always such a pleasure to have you here. And Mr. Eteng is joining us on another video. Welcome.
It's always a privilege to be seated beside you. Amazing.
You guys, you're starting to snatch my subscribers because it seems like Mr. Eteng now has more fans on this channel than I do. I'm not offended, I'm not jealous, okay? It's fine. Whatever you do to him, you do to me. We're one. Okay? Anyway, guys, so recently we had a couples Q&A where we told you guys that we're going to make another video to tell you to address some of the questions that we couldn't answer in that Q&A. Okay, well, this video is supposed to provide some kind of foundation to the questions that we haven't gotten to yet. So we thought it would be nice to do this video yet, just to give you like a foundation, so that when we talk about how Canada has changed our marriage, that was like the question that we couldn't get to. So when we talk about how Canada has changed our marriage, you will have like a clearer understanding of why some of the things that happen. We're going to get to that in a bit, but before we do, I just want to take a moment to say a very happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there who support this channel, who watch my videos. For those of you who support us, I just want to say a happy Father's Day to all of you. Good fathers are very underrated. They don't talk about you guys enough, so I'm taking this opportunity to celebrate all the fathers out there. Thank you for all that you do. Thank you for everything that you do to keep your families running, whether you get the credit for it or not. You keep going, keep grinding just to make sure your family is okay. We appreciate all your efforts and we say God richly bless you. Okay, on the day we're filming this video, it's not Father's Day. You would have seen the treat that Mr. Eteng is in for. But on the day you're seeing it, it will be Father's Day. Don't worry, I'll show you what we got up to in a different video, okay? So happy Father's Day to all of you before we get started. In today's video, guys, we're going to be talking about how we both knew that we were the ones. How Mr. Eteng is going to be telling you guys how he knew I was the one that he should marry. And I am going to be sharing with you guys how I knew he was the one. Okay, we have a very interesting story. Like, our timeline is very short. From when we met to when we got married, it was less than 18 months. Okay, so yeah, under normal circumstances, people look at us like, are you guys crazy? Why do you do that? But I'm going to let Mr. Eteng tell us the reason why he thought that was a smart move and why he did that. I'm going over to Isa.
Okay, so when we started to see each other more often, you know, it's always a tendency to judge your present relationship with previous ones, right? So I was tempted to do that at first, but you know, at some point I saw that Marina was who she was when she was doing business, like, because we had to deal with each other. She was the same person as the person I saw when we were at home, when we were out, when we were with people she knew, when it was people I knew. So it was just that consistency. And I think that's something I lost in the process. As in, that's what I lost in myself. I was always adapting to the relationships I was in, until the point where I didn't know what I wanted. So it was always me adapting, and then it changes, and then I adapt, and then it changes. But for you, it was more like I could rediscover myself. It was almost like wow, so this is what I was missing. This is who I am, and I don't have to keep changing. So that was a huge thing for me. So, you
know, baby, it's so funny that you say that, because I felt like you were the one that brought out that part of me. That whole me not being afraid to be who I was regardless of who I was with. I thought you were the one that brought that out in me. Okay, so let me give a little context. How we met, we have a couple of videos where we've talked about how we met. I'll link our most recent Q&A video somewhere on the screen so that you can go and check that as well and understand some of these things. So because we had a business relationship going on, I still had to be professional.
Business relationship.
Baby, you jumped all the way to when we started dating. What happened between when we started talking to when we now decided that we wanted to take it to a relationship? Like, how did we get there?
I didn't know you wanted me to go back.
Of course.
So, you know, yes, we met at the bank the time she came to do a transaction, and you know, I was in the bank at the time, blah blah blah. So helped her out, and then you turned me down on the first date. I
just feel like I'm never going to hear the end of that story.
But funny, because you know, the place I was, under normal circumstances, I would not have asked again, just because of.
Because you were the best thing to happen to women after sliced bread.
No, it's not you. It's the fact that, you know, when you deal with a lot of rejection and you don't want to put yourself out there.
Oh yeah, I guess.
So yeah, we started to date, and it was, like I said, it was what you see is what you get. I know that's a cliche most people use, but this was actually true for me. I'm not, you know, I knew exactly what I was in, and I knew exactly what I was missing when I met you. So yeah, that was a huge pointer for me to say that this is something different, and of course I took the chance.
Okay, like I said, that part of me being able to freely express myself was something that you brought out in me, because before you came into the picture, I felt that exact same way, where it was like you had to adjust to what was happening around you, regardless of whether that's how you like things to be done or not, you know. So it seemed like both of us were in situations where we couldn't really freely express ourselves until we met each other. That's what I hear you say from all of this. And really, that was the case with me, because when I met Fred, I had reached the end of myself. I'd reached the end of that phase of my life. I'm like, you know what? I'm just tired of having to adjust to everything else. Rather than let my true self show, I would look around and say, okay, what's acceptable here? And do what was acceptable there. For me, I feel like there's a long history to that. Like, there's a long story to how I got to that point. It was just the constant quest for validation and for acceptance, and for my struggling self-esteem, my non-existent self-confidence, and things like that. That's the reason why I thought I had to adjust to everything else that was happening around me. Maybe I'll finally be accepted. Maybe I'll finally be validated. So that's where that started from. And in that place where I was, I just felt like I was tired of being that person. I was tired of not letting my true self shine through. Even if I will be the only one that has the kind of opinion that I had, I reached the point where I'm like, you know what, I'm just tired. I no longer care if nobody sees things like I do. I am going to be myself. You either adjust or you bounce. You know, that's where I was. And I was on the lookout for new friends. I felt like I needed to get out of the circle where I was. I needed fresh perspectives. I needed to just learn about me from a neutral point of view, right? And that's when you came along. That's the first reason why, when you started hinting at, oh, let's have a relationship, or I feel like I can marry you, I'm like, hey, I'm going to stop that. That's not why we're here. You insinuated a couple of times. You insinuated a couple of times where you're like, okay, what do you want to do before you get married? What kind of person do you want to marry? Like, when the conversations now started becoming very, what do you think about marriage? I'm like, excuse me, sir, please. That's not why we're here. Back where? You know? Anyway, so from that period where we started talking more often, and where it now became a relationship, I remember that conversation where it became, you know what, okay, maybe we should give this a shot. We had one very long walk. Do you remember? Area 8. Yeah. It was a long walk. Like, both of us were talking about so many things. That's when you asked me about marriage. Like, what do you think? What are you afraid of? Because you had brought it up before, and I squashed the conversation completely. And for you, it was very confusing. Like, okay, what do you want? Like, what exactly what's going on? Like, why do you always squash this part?
You know, I'll just say something before you continue. That was one part that I didn't understand. Every other thing I could clearly see. But when it came to that, it was like there was something that she wasn't showing me, wasn't telling me, or didn't even know she was resisting.
Projecting, yeah.
Yeah, so.
Exactly. Because for me, I had fears. I had major fears that I was going to be trapped in a relationship where I couldn't be myself. And it would be like long term, kind of, how am I going to, do you understand what I mean? you know. So that's what my first fear of marriage was. Like, would I even be able to breathe? Like, the picture of marriage that had been sold to me at that time was almost like the woman stopped existing because she got married, and I was afraid of that.
That's what I later found out, because everything up to that point was, she was like, it could see through. But when it came to marriage, that was a bit cloudy, so it was a bit curious. But yeah, later on I got to find out why she had that perspective. But I mean,
exactly. And for you, I think you changed my perspective. So to bring it home, what would you say you were looking for, that you would say when you identified those things in me, you thought, you know what, this is the one? Like, what was it for you?
You know, I having gone through life then, you know, you just realize the things that really don't matter. It's not how people perceive you. It's not what you have or where you work and things like that, right? The fact that, you know, I had redefined myself so much that I just got sick and tired of it. But because, you know, you don't want to cause any frictions in your previous relationships, you try to adapt, you know, that compromise and all of that. I didn't know when the boundary, where it stopped. So, but for you, you know, I think I was going through a hard time then as well. You just accepted just the way it was, and I realized that I didn't have to do. It wasn't an effort. It wasn't an effort to be me and just, this is me, right? And that's what that was, honestly, it's like being in the desert for so long without water, and then you finally see water. It's the most important thing. Yes, it might seem like it's simple, but for me, then at that point in my life, it was the most important thing. And I think if you had that as your personality, that's all that matters, because everything was superficial. Everything can change, but the person, the character, the morals, the values don't.
Baby, no, it's amazing listening to you say this again. Like, this is not something I don't know, but every time I say it, it's like I remember something new and realize that. And what I hear you say, it's almost like both of us were in similar positions separately, and then when we came together, it was like both of us, I could heal with you, you could heal with me, and both of us heal together. That's what I hear you say, because I was in the exact same position where I had put up, because of that constant quest for acceptance, for validation, I had a wall that I had put up. Like, nobody could come beyond that wall. Like, nobody could penetrate that wall. I would show you what I wanted you to see, and what I wanted you to see would be maybe what everybody else is doing around, just so that you think I'm one of the it girls. So I put up that wall, and not a lot of people could see through. A lot of people judged what they saw as the wall, and honestly, I really couldn't be bothered explaining to them that that's not the real me. Whatever impression you have, that's fine, take it is true, you know. Exactly. That's how it was for me. But with you, I got a bit scared when you came close, and it was like you had laser vision. You could see through that wall. For the first time in a long time, I felt visible with you. Like, when you looked at me, the kind of things you could tell from just listening to me, like from a phone conversation, from the tone of my voice, you could tell if I was happy or sad. You could judge my emotions from the tone of my voice. That's how very attentive you were to me. And to me, that was something that had never happened. Like, I'd never really had anybody paid that much attention to see through me, see through the walls, see through my defenses and all that. And it made me feel helpless with you. Like, I felt like a child, like a little girl who had been rescued.
Catch them, yo.
Cradle snatcher. Anyway, that was the first thing for me. Like, Fred saw through me. He saw through everything. I could not pretend. I could finally be myself. I could finally breathe. I could finally feel free. And then that now brought me to the second part, which was my fear of the marriage relationship as a whole. All the things I was afraid of was almost like, I don't want to be in a place where somebody was going to stifle me, where I would not have room to breathe, where my dreams would no longer be valid. I was very afraid of that. And because I was already a bit opinionated.
Was that a cultural thing?
Part of it was cultural. part of it was the idea of marriage that was sold to me as this is what the norm is, right? I had major problems with that, but it was not typical that you could question that. Now we're all questioning everything on Twitter, just so you know. You know, it was not the norm that you could openly question some of those things. So I was afraid, like, if I express how I feel about this, will people not think I'm crazy? Like the few times that I tried in like gatherings, you know the story, I mean, where I raised my hand and said, excuse me, sir, but what about this other part? Everybody looked at me like, nobody can marry this one, you know? So I'd accepted it as my fate, like nobody can marry this one. So when you came into the picture, it was almost like you shared my sentiment about some of the things that were wrong with the picture of marriage that had been sold to us. Because I used to ask questions that were traps. Honestly, those questions were traps. Yes, I had a lot of questions that I had to say, hey, what do you think about this situation? What do you think about, what's your view on this? I will bring real life situations and just hear what you will say. And your answers were consistent. Trust me, I did not ask the questions once. I asked those questions multiple times just to see, is it trying to impress me? If you are telling the truth, your answer will be consistent. And that was what I noticed. There was consistency in the values that you upheld, your views on things like marriage. It was like our visions aligned. Like it was that, do you understand what I mean? We were on the same page on almost everything. What different people, no doubt, we disagree a lot. We disagree on a number of things, but our fundamental values align. Our fundamental vision aligns.
I agree. I mean, in all of this, just coming back to that question, in all of this, you know, you think, did we have to go through all of that experience?
Like previous experiences?
Yeah, previous experiences. I think everything works out together if you're bold enough to take that step. So I think I was bold enough to take that step because I realized that, you know, this was one fundamental thing that was important to me and moving forward. So
yeah, but don't you think, looking back now, like pretend that we have not been married 10 years, right? You met me in March. It became a relationship, official relationship, like in May. And in December, you had... Yes, because we had talked about it to say, are we now in a relationship?
No, you asked that question.
Yes.
I always thought that was really
Eventually, we got there. That's the bottom line. And then in December, you had asked me to marry you. May to December, 7 months. That was like the first one. Really?
That's not.
Do you guys think that's enough time? Do you think 7 months is enough to date somebody and then ask them to marry you? What do you guys think? That was like the first one. Then the official proposal was January, and by August we're married. So timelines from when I met you to when we got married was 17 months. Like looking back now, would you do anything differently? Like don't you think that was too short?
No.
Really?
No. You know, when you go through life, if you discover who you are, it's very easy to decide what you want
and figure out who fits in and who doesn't.
Yeah, so
take bagger for that.
So for me, I had a lot of time. Not like I didn't know. I'm the kind of person that I don't do things because people said to do it. Come under pressure. Oh, I did it because this person said to do it. No, if I did something, it's because I wanted to do it. So for me, I realized that in my previous relationships, I knew who I was, but I was too scared.
You couldn't express who you were.
To draw the line and say, okay, you know what, from here, no, it doesn't work. I wouldn't deal. So I lost that side of me in the process. So with you, I rediscovered that, you know, it's okay. So yeah.
I think it was the exact same for me. Like both of us were like our own. You were my breath of fresh air. I was your breath of fresh air, and it was like, you know what are we waiting for? There's really no need. I totally agree with that. Like when you come to the point where you are finally able to admit to yourself who you are, it will be clearer for you to know who fits in and who doesn't. It will be easier for you to say, you know what, this is what I can take and this is what I can't take. That's where I think both of us were. That's what made the decision to say, you know what, let's do this. There's really no reason to fear anymore. If I'm going to take a chance, I'd rather take the chance with you. That's what I think happened to both of us. So yeah, from when we met to when we got married, 17 months, you guys. Now I'm not asking anybody to do the exact same thing. If you meet somebody who aligns with you, if your visions align, if your values align, and you feel like both of you can build a future together, by all means take a chance. But if you feel like you need time before you get there, then please don't rush into, because marriage is lifelong. It's like long-term commitment that you don't want to, that's not a decision you want to make lightly, right?
Yeah.
But if you were to give an advise somebody to say, what do you look out for in a person before you get married to them? Like, what should you be looking out for in the person that you marry? What would you say?
Well, I think first of all, how the person treats you. We respect. It is natural for them to respect you, to seek your opinion.
Is that as a man or
no? Well, are you asking?
Okay, for you, from a man's perspective.
Well, you know, like those things still apply. It's also the things that are your cardinal points when you're with someone who is still figuring out what they want to do. And I think in that relationship, your job there is to help them discover who they are, discover themselves, and that way you know how you fit into the picture. Not every relationship leads to marriage, definitely, but every relationship has to have a goal. So when I realized that there are certain things about you, your values, the things you help really, I'll just give you an example, your friends. I see how much you do for your friends, and I'm amazed, like, you know,
you will not say the part where you used to yab me at me about it.
So, you know, I just looked at that and that was so beautiful to see, whether they were there or whether they weren't, whether they knew about what she was planning or whether they didn't know about it. It was consistent. So that was just a very simple example.
Well, for me, what I would say to anybody who is looking to commit to someone, what should you be looking out for? First of all, I don't believe that there's only one person that is made for another person. Like, there's only one person you can marry. I don't believe that. I believe that the qualities that you want in a partner is not reflected in only one person.
Yeah. Probably
you can marry any two people can marry if your values align, if your visions align, if you're on the same page on major things with the things that are important to both of you. If you have the same kind of priorities, the same visions, the same values, you can marry and you have a successful marriage. That's the truth. It's not just about being a Christian, because people say, oh no, do not be unequally yoked means that you should not marry an unbeliever. That is correct to an extent, but I believe that even Christians can be unequally yoked if you have different values, because people are in different positions even in their Christian walk. So the fact that the person is a Christian, I don't think that's 100% guarantee that you'll be able to marry them. You can be a Christian, but the foundation is faulty. If the person grew up in a home where things are toxic, like slapping is okay or things like that are okay, you might marry a Christian but still not be happy. So it's not just about being a Christian. He was a Christian too, so that part was important to both of us, right? But beyond just the fact that we both shared like a mutual love for God, our values were the same, our visions aligned. When I looked in my future, Fred fit into the picture of who I wanted beside me as my partner, as my husband, as my cheerleader. And that's what he has been the last 10 years, you know. So for us, if overall, how we knew we were the one was we came to the point where we're no longer afraid to admit to ourselves who we really were, admit our weaknesses, admit our fault, admit everything to ourselves. So it was easy for us to recognize that we both fit into the picture in each other's life, and we took that plunge. Would I say it was risky? At some point I thought it was. I thought it was risky, like, isn't this too soon? Isn't this too sudden? Like, what if something happens? What if he changes? I was afraid of that. And did he change?
Say it now.
Yes, he did.
the thing is, change from what to what?
That's where how Canada changed our marriage will now come in, guys. So it was on this foundation of friendship and transparency and openness. That's how we got married. And our first year of our marriage was, I think, was very interesting. When people say the first year of marriage is the hardest, it was not the same for us at all. The first year for me, I thought we were balling. Like, it was just... we're just balling, like we're friends, we had no single care in the world. And then in the second year, well, part of the first year, that's where we had the issues with the medical condition, difficulty having children and blah blah, but we didn't let that stop us. We still were balling. But the second year, when children started coming and things started changing in our family, that's where things started to change. In our next video, guys, we're going to tell you guys the next video we do together when we talk about how moving to Canada changed our marriage. We're going to give you like a brief about where our marriage was when we moved out of Nigeria and what role moving to Canada played in that entire process. So please look out for that video. It's going to be coming shortly. We just thought we could lay this foundation for you guys just to give you like an idea of where we're coming from, so that when we refer to some of these things in subsequent videos, it will make sense and you guys will understand what we're talking about. Okay? Did you enjoy this?
Yeah, and you know, I'm looking forward to that video.
And we're going to say the truth, right? We'll say everything the way it was. How people used to lie. See the shock on your face. Anyway, guys, thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you guys learned a thing or two from it. If you did, please leave it in the comment section below. For those of you who have been married, how did you know that your spouse was the one? What were you looking for? And for those of you who are just at the point where you're about to make that decision, what are your fears? What are you looking out for? What would you see in a person that you will say, okay, this is the one for me? Please share that in the comment section. We want to learn from you guys as well. Thank you very much, Mr. Etienne, for obliging me. Yeah, this juice was so hot we had drinks. Yay, we will do it next time, okay?
Sure.
Thank you very much for watching this video, guys. Until we come your way in the next one, it's Marina and Mr. Etienne saying thank you and have an awesome day. Bye guys.